Hey, everybody. It's the week of Enterprise Connect, the annual get together with industry players, including a well known industry player. Mitel, Eric, how are you?
Doing great, Evan. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Busy week ahead, sort of the annual family reunion almost at Enterprise Connect. Before that, maybe some introductions for those few people who haven't heard of Mitel and its really interesting storied history. How do you describe yourself these days?
Yeah, no, thanks, Evan, and I really appreciate you having me on the show this week. So Mitel is a unified communications player, been around for over 50 years now, leader in the industry. About a year ago, we acquired a company called Unify, which basically put us in the position where we have the largest install base in terms of seats globally, and really excited to be with you and talk a little bit about what we'll be doing next week.
Well, thanks so much. And it's really interesting timing, not just for the industry and the opportunity, but also you've had some big news about restructuring financially. For those non-finance geeks, maybe you can explain what's going on and what it means for the company moving forward.
Sure, sure. What we announced this past week is a really positive milestone for the company, and while we've had a very successful and profitable business operationally, we had some debt and a capital structure that we needed to address just in terms of improving things. And so, in really, given the momentum that we've seen over the last year, that really helped us, relative to hybrid communications. It really helped us work closely with our lenders to proactively come to an agreement and a prepackaged agreement and a process which we entered on Monday that's going to ensure us to be able to basically move forward, recapitalize our financial structure, eliminate a bunch of debt, reduce our annual interest payments pretty dramatically. And that's really going to give us the agility we need to capitalize on the market opportunity that we see before us. We've had a lot of very large, sort of north of $10 million hybrid style deals over the last year. So the business is there. Mitel's very well positioned for it. But one of the things that we needed that flexibility and agility to really capitalize on the opportunity, continue to invest in everyday innovation, continue to invest in sort of modernizing and transforming our go-to-market to take advantage of those opportunities. So very, very positive step. One thing I'll note, for those of sometimes these restructuring processes can be a little spooky for people because it was a prepackaged agreement with our lenders, and the nature by which the process that we sort of initiated through the court system with Chapter 11, it's really enabling us to move swiftly. We expect to be out of this process within 90 days. We've already reached the first milestone where the court has approved everything that we're doing. What that means is zero impact to employees, no impact to customers, no impact to partners, no impact to vendors. It really is sort of a financial exercise in terms of restructuring our finances so that we can continue to invest in the business and move more quickly.
All good to know. So on the business front, really exciting times, and we're going to dive in. Hybrid cloud and hybrid communications is a big theme in the industry right now, and something you're squarely positioned for at Mitel. Maybe talk about globally why enterprises are looking more to a hybrid option versus a fully, hyperscaler cloud-based solutions, and what's some of the thinking behind that requirement?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it's a great time in our industry, I think, to reevaluate maybe some of the hype over the last few years of final destination being a pure solution one direction or another. I think coming post pandemic and organizations really looking at what their needs are. We all know that no two organizations are the same, and the needs of one is very different than the needs of another, especially when you talk about larger organizations and more demanding industries or demanding geographies for that matter, right? And so I think the way that we think about hybrid and seems to be very well received by the market, and certainly seeing that momentum over the last year, is that a combination of everything really makes sense to varying degrees by organization. So for some parts of their business, a UCaaS or CCaaS solution may be the perfect fit for them, and for others, based on whether it's for compliance reasons, that where they need to have it, if you will, they will need some aspect of potentially prem or private cloud dedicated instance type of deployments for certain part of their communications infrastructure, again, for compliance reasons. Then we think that there are those types of organizations that we call it want to have it, where their risk profile or preference is more similar to what we call the need to have it, that are kind of guided by compliance, because they're worried about business continuity, whether that's tied to security or other factors like natural disaster, as an example, right? And then, of course, there's the third category, which is I like to call path of least resistance, which are really those customers that are, they want to move to some sort of future state, but they've got a significant investment in current infrastructure. And so they want to be a little more methodical as they move from that current state to either, a full migration path, maybe to UCaaS or CCaaS, or they wanted some blend of, all sorts of different deployment models while maintaining a consistent sort of front end experience for their users and the ability to adopt some of the emerging technologies like AI, right? So that's really what we're seeing. We did a tech aisle survey this last year, and what we found in the 2,000 people that were surveyed in the study is that, in Germany, UK, France, and the US, what we found is that 92% of those surveyed IT leaders, decision makers, were really looking for more of that style of strategy. And again, that was to give them that control over the adoption of new technology, control over the pace at which they move to a future state, or control over their, kind of resilience and security, kind of path for mitigating those things, right? So, we are seeing are the primary drivers.
Fantastic. So in the meantime, the competitive landscape is, highly competitive as always, and many of your competitors have either exited the market or been acquired. So how do you see that landscape evolving and your position therein?
I think it's a great question, and I think for some organizations, especially those that we compete with that are more pure UCaaS or CCaaS players, they've got a hammer, and so therefore every problem that a customer presents looks like a nail, right? I think our approach is a little bit different, and we believe that UCaaS and CCaaS are obviously one critical component in terms of an overall strategy for business communications. Again, depending upon what type of organization you are. So for us, it's really a portfolio strategy that combines sort of the best of all those worlds, and then does the right thing based on the problems that a customer needs to solve. And the great thing is we have a very robust, 25% of our organization is in professional services. So we have a lot of large organizations. We're actually providing managed services, not just professional services for their environments, where they've wanted to outsource their communications infrastructure to us. So when you think about it from that perspective, it really gives us a level of flexibility that's unparalleled compared to some of the as a service players, in terms of really being able to sort of surround and support the business requirements with the right tool for the right job, right? And so I think that gives us a real advantage. And I think relative to some of our, some of the other competitors out there with a similar heritage to Mitel, they're obviously doing what's right for their business based on focusing on certain aspects of their business. So if you've got NEC that's exited the market, they're doing that because of their broader portfolio. This no longer made sense for their business strategy. You look at others where they're narrowing their focus. That's again what makes sense for their business strategy. For us, we're really doubling down on our strengths. We see the momentum based on what we're seeing in the field, and so we really are excited about continuing to invest in that and continuing to execute against the strategy.
Brilliant. So your partnership with Zoom and Genesis really caught my attention, two great tech companies in their space. What were some of the advantages you saw in those partnerships, and what do you anticipate for customers?
Yeah, so I think the two partnerships are a little bit different than one another. I think with the Genesis relationship, we had a past relationship with them in the field with some specific customers where we were providing a level of managed services for those environments as those organizations were maybe moving from Genesis Prem and into Genesis Cloud, and so it made a lot of sense to expand that relationship from that perspective. And that's a little bit different than what we've done with Zoom. In the case of Zoom, again, we really believe, in terms of the hybrid experience. And as part of that hybrid experience, we felt like it was important to be able to provide a best-in-class visual collaboration component that's AI enabled. And we really believed that what Zoom has done on that front is industry leading. And so it really made sense to add that to the portfolio. And that's part of why we, made the investment that we did with Zoom in terms of co-developing that hybrid experience. And so we're really excited about that. Actually, I was at Zoom's sales kickoff this last week and had the opportunity to, present to their sales force, and was very well received. We've actually already landed our first big win, even though we just
Mm.
went GA a week ago. 21,000 seats in Europe,
Wow.
with an existing Mitel customer, and the overall Mitel environment is about 70,000 seats. So very excited, and of course they're very excited to see that type of momentum right out of the gate with the new relationship. We're really looking forward to the things that we can do together as we think about, obviously, sort of the needs of the knowledge workers, the needs where there's visual collaboration requirements, and really complementing those specialized frontline worker scenarios, whether it's emergency services, transportation and logistics type scenarios, where mission critical communications is really important, and they see that too. And so we believe that together we have a far greater likelihood of positively impacting the customer condition and enabling them really to thrive in whatever business they have.
Well, it's good timing. I mean, certainly customer expectations for those kind of seamless experiences are rising, and all kinds of new ways in which businesses are dealing and engaging with their customers. What are they telling you in terms of their requirements and needs for CX over the next year or
Yeah,
two?
well, yeah, for sure. On the contact center side, what we're hearing is a couple things. Number one, again, I probably sound a little bit like a broken record, but right tool for the right job, right? And I think
Mm.
for those of us that have worked with larger organizations, you realize that they can be made up of a number of different business units. Each of those business units, in the case of a CX type experience, can vary. And I've seen a lot of organizations where they need more than one type of solution, because this solution's purpose built or a good fit for this line of business, but maybe is overkill for another line of business, and vice versa. I've seen that a lot actually in large enterprise. So I think what they're looking for is they're looking for a partner that can help them arrive at the right conclusions, that make sense and can bring the right solutions, and then can actually stitch it all together and make it work. And I think that even more than you see, for CX experiences, that's a prevalent thing. When you think about it, that's one of the primary interfaces between a brand and its customers, right? So obviously you want that to be right. And the talent that is addressing those needs, they need to be coached, they need to be, in some cases, upskilled, they need to be more productive. And certainly the things that we're doing from an innovation perspective as an industry, and also at Mitel, around AI, and how we increase that productivity at an agent level to optimize skills, as well as obviously taking advantage of things like virtual agents and so forth for those things that are more repetitive. I think those are all the kind of critical surface area things that organizations are sort of demanding. But again, they want help figuring out how to stitch this all together. And so I think the services component is really important for this area, as well as having that knowledge of more than just one solution.
Yeah, get it. Totally. The other trend you're watching and riding is a sort of hybrid work trend, which is now the new normal, but varying degrees of adoption. You got big banks moving 100% back to the office. You've got other organizations fully embracing remote work. How do you think about balancing, flexibility and productivity in this new hybrid model?
Yeah, I mean, even state of California, I think I read yesterday,
All right.
they're saying
Wow.
everybody's got to go back to the office, right? And now the concern is, do they have enough office space? Which I think for some organizations may become a challenge that may not have thought that part through. But again, I think for us, this is one of the reasons why I think, the hybrid strategy for a given organization when they think about their communications is so important, right? And one of the other things that came out of the Tech Aisle survey that we did is that they said that modernizing their communications and the connectivity between employees was really important. So on the surface, you say, okay, that makes sense. Well, why wouldn't just a pure as a service sort of address that need? But the reality is they're talking about the entire workforce. And as many of us know, 65 to 75% of the workforce is comprised of frontline or specialized workers, right? So what the survey is really saying is that they want to have sort of a level playing field, an inclusive environment where the entire estate can interact, collaborate, operate as one organization. And that gets complex when you have a mix of remote workers, whether they're at home or in a remote office or location, and more headquarter style. And so that combination of complexity from a security, resiliency, and so forth perspective, I think really plays in the hybrid strategy favor of having that sort of, again, right tool for the right job and the professional services available to make it all work together in a seamless way. So for the user, it's sort of simple, but for the enterprise, it checks all the boxes in terms of security, resiliency, and ease of managing and maintaining, right? And so that's where we really see those two things kind of converging as this trend around the future of work continues to evolve.
Yeah, great insight. The next question is a little bit of inside baseball, but I guess from a marketing perspective as CMO, how do you lead the team and communicate, Mitel's value in such a, dynamic and disruptive and changing environment day to day? That must be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, well, I think it's an exciting time, right? Like there's a lot
Hmm.
of things to sort of sink your teeth into, and I think Evan, you and I have known each other long enough that I like to poke the bear a little bit here and there to be a little bit more provocative, and because I think dialogue is an important thing in our industry, and it is within a given organization in terms of getting people to really think as opposed to just follow. And so, I really motivate my team to sort of challenge the status quo, where the new fresh idea is going to come from, and I enjoy having that same type of interaction with our product teams. I was a former product manager, so my dialogue with our head of product, and you've met Martin before. We have a great, very constructive relationship where we brainstorm, we challenge one another. Whether it's the narrative that we're taking the brand, where we're taking the brand, whether it's some of these angles around product strategy, whether it's how do we really think about the future of work and where that's going, and what the role of some of these specialized mission critical workers need as it relates to those that are in the back office or the broader sort of set of knowledge workers. And so I think all of those things come together to create kind of an excitement around sort of always constantly challenging yourself to reimagine, and I think that's where the best ideas come from when you do that. And that's motivating for the team. And I think it's motivating for the market in terms of how we move the conversation and drive innovation for our industry.
Brilliant. So I've had really insightful conversations with your CTO, Louise, and your head of product, and there's a lot with AI and Gen AI going on. But between that, what other kind of innovations or market developments are you excited about over the course of this year?
Well, one of the reasons I came back to the industry, Evan, and came specifically to Mitel was I love that we sit at that intersection of hardware and software.
Mm.
And I think you can do some really thoughtful things that benefit customers. When you sit at that intersection, right? And so we obviously we create a lot of world class devices, but it also I think improves our ability in terms of what we put into some of our software products. So that's one of the things that I think is really exciting. We've got a number of things that we've been working on that vein. On the contact center side, we've got a product that we've had for a while that we haven't probably talked enough about in the market, but we're going to be showing it at Enterprise Connect, called Workflow Studio, which is
Mm.
basically a low code, no code communications and AI workflow solution that complements whatever platform you're using, whether it's for UC or for contact center. And it literally is this, sort of drag and drop type of experience for figuring out what your workflows should be that support your business, including, certain capabilities around how you're leveraging AI. So I'm pretty excited about showcasing that next week. We won't be showing it next week, but we've got a new version of our expert solution, which is a very specialized tool for everything from trading desks to air traffic control and these mission critical sort of scenarios, which is a purpose built piece of hardware that the defense industry uses as well. That is tied into our communications platform. We've got a new version of that we're bringing out over the next couple of months. We've got some new certifications that are going to help us with the U.S. Department of Defense with some of our solutions. So
Ah,
we're pretty excited about doing more on that side of things. And then, of course, we've got the continued innovation that I'm sure Louise talked a lot about, which we'll be showcasing next week, with our MCX product, with AI, which I think is going to be pretty powerful. But one of the things that I think is going to be really interesting, again, we designed it probably predominantly for retail, but I think that there are so many other horizontal use cases for this, which is this AI-enabled DECT headset. Again, we sit at that intersection of hardware and software. So for retail, it's really powerful when Wi-Fi and mobile isn't that great. We're not talking about a push-to-talk device. We're talking about AI-enabled, voice-controlled,
Mm.
very comfortable headset that we're going to be bringing to market. And so obviously it'll be awesome for retail, but I think that there's so many other powerful use cases in healthcare and in other scenarios where I think that's going to be very valuable. So we're pretty excited about that. And again, as well as what we're doing on the AI front. I think again, at the end of the day, for us, it's about really being thoughtful around what we're doing with Zoom, what we're doing with some common UC experience that kind of address the core UC requirements for an organization. And we've got some improvements in our UI that we're going to be rolling out next quarter that are already present in the new MCX product. So we'll be bringing that to market, as well as these specialized workforce scenarios, because we really think not just in terms of unified communications or unified communication experiences. We're really trying to think hard and drive innovation around workforce experiences. And I think that sort of spans the full gamut from kind of the common UC all the way to those specialized mission critical scenarios.
Wow, that's amazing. Can't wait to see it all in action. Congratulations, Eric, and have a great week at Enterprise Connect.
Great. Thanks, Evan. Great to be on.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And thanks,